first things first, we are for comics by comics, and we've been talking about the Earthquake special, and I've got to tell you, dude, the Earthquake special has ruined comedy for me. Like, I was watching Ronnie Chang's new special, and like, it was funny, and it was interesting, and it was engaging and captivating, but there was a moment near the middle that I was watching with my wife, and I audibly said out loud, I was like, yo, where's the laughs? Like, because he was setting up a point that took a little while to get there, but seeing what Earthquake did, I was just like, yo, LPMs, where's the laughs per minute? But
that's why I thought about, it was different. I'll say the Aziz Ansari special.
Yeah.
That one was so short and felt like an Earthquake special because he did it in a tight space and the laughs carried. So that one felt like an Earthquake-like special because it was very much like hit, 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 hit. And he did it like in a very, in a 30-minute kind of like environment. But it's that Earthquake special is, especially like as the big one for 2022, has kind of ruined a lot of people's like expectations of what a special should be.
It's another level, and I think it can ruin also maybe like stylistically, like there doesn't have to be 12 laughs per minute. You know, as comedians, we can appreciate that metric and aspire to it, but there is also something to be said about having a point, developing it.
Yes.
And I mean, it's got to be funny. I know there's also a trend where it's cool to not get laughs because you're ironically bombing, but we do need to make sure there's still laughs there. But also, if you have something to say, to feel comfortable saying it and being in silence and establishing it for the payoff at the end. But I do always have, as we're going to talk about Jerrod Carmichael's new special, all of his specials are a prime example of someone doing what they want to do, having a clear stylistic choice and committing to it. And it's not Earthquake like laughs per minute, but it's another way to do comedy. And that's what we always want to encourage comics is like, the only way is your way. You can learn from us in the classes and workshops and other comics, but at the end of the day, there's no right way. It's your way, but at least make it funny. You know, be funny.
Yeah.
But Jerrod's special is like a unique example of how to do a comedy special.
Yeah, it's very different. It's funny because I was watching the Carmichael special, and I was doing my homework, and I was counting the laughs per minute, and then I just put my pencil down, and I just said, "That's not what this is about."
Right.
And I finished the rest of the special, and I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, I wouldn't actually call it a comedy special. I'd call it a special starring the comedian Jerrod Carmichael. And the reason I say that is it was more like a come to Jesus moment kind of thing. It was more like, it felt like an intervention, but we weren't trying to intervene in anything that Jerrod was going through. We were just in a room where he's like, you know what it was? It felt like did you ever have family meetings where everyone's like, hey guys, gather up, where your dad's like gonna tell you big news. And he's like, we're gonna move to like Virginia, right? I remember this because we had a family meeting where my dad, like, he goes through and he's like, this is why we're moving, all this other stuff. That's what the Jerrod Carmichael special felt like. He's like, all right, everybody gather around, everyone that I know, gather around. Let me tell you the story about my, like, what I'm going through. And that's what that special felt like. And I enjoyed it for that.
Yeah.
And took off the lens of trying to make it like, oh, this is just all pure comedy. And he had jokes throughout it, but he also forcefully also did things that you aren't necessarily supposed to do in comedy. And I appreciate that he did do that because he had audience members asking questions and he'd
Uh-huh.
answer them as part of the special. And the questions weren't comedic questions. They were like, "Hey, how do you feel about your mom?" Like, they were hard-hitting questions about the situation that he's going through. So, I think you just have to respect that the special itself was more like a family meeting, a family get-together. Let's gather around. Jerrod's got something to say. Let's all
Mhm.
listen. And it was I enjoyed it because I thought it was super artistic.
I agree, and I enjoyed it as well, and I think I'm glad that this came out, just because we had been leaning on laughs per minute so much, so I'm glad as we continue to do this show that we can start to kind of look at it from multiple angles and don't, because a lot of young comics listen to this, and I don't want people to start thinking, "Oh, there wasn't a laugh every 5 seconds, so it's not a good special." Like, so I think this is a great time for this special to come up just
Oh, for
for
sure.
that reason, if anything, to show what's possible. You know, Bo Burnham directed it, who Bo's directed other of Gerard's specials. I think he directed Chris Rock's newest special. It's, yeah, stylistically, it's super unique, super specific to Gerard, and like Ron said, it's like a one man show,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is a
for
good
sure.
way to put it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think what I really took away from it, and it's something that he emphasized in the special. I think at one point someone yelled out and then maybe like retreat a little bit, or he's like, "No, please, like speak up." You know, I think what did he say? He said like, "We're a family. Like this is how this. It's only going to work if we feel like we're in a family together," or something like that. So he
Yeah,
set that expectation too.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. And I so respected the audience for taking themselves and putting themselves into his shoes and
Mm.
really leaning into because there were times when the conversation felt uncomfortable. You're like, wow, like he's going through it and you can see him going through it on stage. Like
Yeah.
he's processing deep emotions while doing a comedy special. And to watch that and to also watch the audience be engaged in that was actually very kind of cool. It was something I've never seen that before, where an artist is having a moment and then an audience is watching the moment. There were a lot of silences that were quiet and just you could hear a pin drop and you were just waiting for something to break it, but it was also okay that it wasn't broken as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I heard a musician, I can't remember which one it was, but they said like, you can make an audience clap, but can you make an audience quiet as well? And he made the audience quiet. And I'm guilty of this, of like hiding behind laughs sometimes and
Oh,
not going there, but making the easy joke to escape the discomfort that this topic may be bringing up.
for
So
sure.
watching this as someone 12 years in the game, of like, I want to be more thoughtful and intentional. One, he opens up, let's talk about secrets. So immediately I'm like, well, what are some of my secrets? And could I talk about these things? You know, because I do want to get more personal now. I feel like I'm in like kind of the next chapter of my career, and like I do want to get deeper and talk about more personal things. And
Yeah,
seeing this special really kind of inspired me to be like, okay, well, this is how it's done at the top. This is how it's done at the highest level. Are you
yeah,
willing to do this? And it really inspired me to like really kind of start going to those places and asking, well, what are my secrets? And maybe am I comfortable talking about them? You know, it's
for
scary, and
sure.
he does it, I mean, beautifully.
Yeah, 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 yeah. He definitely has given a template to talk about uncomfortable conversations that you are still processing and you don't have a solution and or a joke for at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, and I mean, I would love to have figured out how he prepared for this because it felt very organic on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
As
I'm
he
wondering,
wasn't,
yeah, how much it was thought out versus just like,
yeah,
I'm gonna go up there and talk about this, you know. And I guess the big thing, that happens in the special. Like the headline is Jerrod comes out in his comedy special. You know, he basically says I'm gay, and then there's like applause. And he was on Seth Meyers and he's like, I came out in my special and people like applauded, and he's like, I love being in New York. People just applaud me for being gay now. He's like, it was but it's like you could see him like mindfully like talking through this, like he's trying to figure it out with the audience, which was very interesting to see at a on a special.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big takeaway for comics is like, yeah, how can you create a connection with the audience? You know, like create an authentic connection that's memorable, that you actually feel. You know, it's another thing. I've been watching American Idol, you know, with my wife. You know, we like the American Idol, and the best singers.
Your wife doesn't have to be the excuse for you watching American Idol.
I'm with it, yo. I'm with it. I'm with it, yo. I love it. I really do. And my favorite singers are the ones that you can feel what they're singing. And like you feel the emotion. And I was like, can people do that with my comedy? You know, we tell comics to write from emotional places. Like, but am I doing that? And how can I do it better? Because I want to evoke that emotion and that connection with the audience like Jerrod does. It's a new level. And I think everyone should definitely check it out.
And it's also why I think he's got so many fans. That's build. Like, there are people that just F with Jerrod Carmichael that are like, yo, that dude's got something. And he's just got a fandom that is very like unique, that people just mess with him. And mind you, this is a guy who's already had a network television show.
Yep.
He's already had several specials. He's kind of doing comedy at his own pace. Like, he's just doing exactly what he wants to do in comedy. And he's doing it like his way. So just to put something out like this, I really like it because I feel like there isn't a template for something of this nature, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely enjoyed it.
I agree.
That was different. I was like, oh, I needed that. It's like, oh, you just don't get there's not a lot of Jerrod Carmichaels in the game.
Oh my God. I mean, well, yeah, there's clearly only like one Jerrod. Like even the special he did at the Comedy Store, he's like using a notebook. He has a notebook during a comedy special. And I personally,
one that was produced by Spike Lee. Spike Lee produced that special. One of the greatest directors of all time produced his special. And this dude has a notebook. It was just, like just the breakage and just like, oh, I'm gonna just do it my way. It's so, it's very like high quality, but also just like very admirable.
Yeah. So check it out, comics, and just see what's possible in this format. But funny, please do be funny. I don't want people to be like, all right, never mind. I don't want to be a comedian. I want to do TED Talks at open mics. Still be funny. But you see how Jerrod, when you watch the special, you'll see how he walks the line from both. But everything's very intentional. He's not like, I want to say something risque just for the sake of people like tweeting about it. Like what he's doing is very intentional and it's done at a very high level, but it's also aspirational for like the connection he creates with the audience. So watch it through that lens.
It's